Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Our Tuesday staples coming at you. Glen West at 1:30 talking LSU football. Sharie at 2:30 talking Saints, whatever it is that they're doing. Also talk about the college football playoff picture at straight up 2 o'clock. There's not a ton of movement going on outside of the SEC, but I do believe we can have a more sincere conversation about LSU right now with those 2 losses relative to the rest of the bubble, and we'll certainly do that in an hour from now at 2 o'clock. Fired up that in 15 minutes, Matt McMahon, LSU head basketball coach, will be with us. LSU on the floor in the PMAC tonight, 7 o'clock. If you're going, wait, basketball starting? Well, kind of. It's an exhibition game against Loyola of New Orleans, who's an NAIA team, a very good NAIA team, but an NAIA team nonetheless. Free admission, costume contest, kids getting candy, lots going on at the PMAC. It doesn't count, but they will be out there in a dress rehearsal tonight, so we'll have Coach McMahon in about 10 minutes from right now, right before they get out there for some shoot-around this afternoon, so we appreciate him for carving out a little bit of time for us. We want to start with football. We're going to talk about stopping opposing running quarterbacks, which is a bit of an issue on Saturday night, so let's get started with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Look, you're all well aware now of what happened when Marcel Reed came into the game on Saturday. And it was an avalanche after that. We've discussed it. But that's in the rearview mirror, and now you have to move forward. You can be really upset with the Greg Penn quote of, we didn't really prepare for that. You can feel like LSU's coaches let the team down, that the players didn't execute, and all that's well and good, but you can't fix it. At least not Saturday night's performance. That's in stone. And then you look forward at the schedule, and you've got to get better because you know that Jalen Milroe is up next. You know that Diego Pavia is looming as well. DJ Lagway is the quarterback in Florida, and all 3 of those guys are really athletic. I'm not sure what you're going to get from Oklahoma. You've got Michael Hawkins, who's a pretty good athlete. Jackson Arnold's a pretty good athlete in his own right, but their offense is a mess right now, so I don't know if they are really a part of this discussion. It really starts with the other 3. And Jalen Milroe, you're all pretty familiar with. And I went back and kind of looked up his game log from this year and statistically looked at how he's handling things. And basically he averages on the ground. Take the passing game completely out of it. Jalen Milroe averaged about 13 carries for 50 yards in a touchdown and a half a game. That's roughly what he's doing. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in their first 4 games each, so 8 touchdowns total, 2 in each game. He's had 2 rushing touchdowns in 5 of Alabama's 8 games. He is absolutely a threat to run the ball, and it doesn't take a lot of brain power to go back to 12 months ago when LSU went to Tuscaloosa and Jalen Milroe ran the ball 20 times for 155 yards and 4 touchdowns. LSU simply had no answer. And there was an element in that game of the designed quarterback run. But if memory serves, and I'm purely going off of that because I'm not going to go back and rewatch that entire game for this one segment. We may do that next week when we get ready for Alabama. But just for the purposes of this, just based on my memory, there's just a lot of times where he dropped back and I'm not really going to throw it, and then just took off and there's nobody there. Like that felt like what Jalen Milroe was doing the most of the time last year against LSU. You've got to do a job of corralling that. Diego Pavia, I was taking notes on these quarterbacks, and his statistics are so jarring that I just have to kind of read them off the website because the numbers are so absurd. He's got 183 passing attempts on the season, 183 passing attempts. He's got 134 rushing attempts. Like, he's almost running the ball as much as he's passing it, playing quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. Like, that's just not something you see a lot. Maybe Nick Fitzgerald did some of that in his time at Mississippi State, but in this day and age, guys don't run the ball at quarterback as much as they're throwing it. I mean, you look at the game against Texas. He ran 16 times. Ball State, 13 attempts. Kentucky, 14. Against Bama, he ran the football 20 times, and that wasn't even a season high. He ran it 26 times against Virginia Tech. Now, there is a lot of this that is designed, but it's also a significant amount of improvisation from Diego Pavia in the quarterback run game. He is just out there playing junkyard football. It's just running, holding the ball out, making guys miss, getting into space, throwing off his back foot, picking up 20 yards, picking up 3 yards, evading sacks. Like, it's schoolyard stuff that Diego Pavia is doing. And then DJ Lagway, while he's a great athlete and he's got plenty of size at 6'3" and 240 pounds, he hasn't run it quite as much as you might guess as a change of pace quarterback to Graham Mertz. We know that Graham Mertz, when they were dual quarterbacking it, Graham Mertz was doing a lot of the throwing, and you would imagine that DJ Lagway was coming in and doing a ton of running. That hasn't necessarily been the case. He has certainly used his legs at times, but it's kind of a 50-50 mix with him in what he's doing. He's attempted 86 passes on the year as Florida's quarterback, and thus far he has run the ball 34 times. So far more throwing than running. His season high in rushes was this past weekend against Kentucky with 10. Previous to that, he had not run the ball more than 5 times in any game this year. Now, he's splitting time, and that does matter, but he's just a good athlete who can run, not a guy like Pavia or Milroe that's designing a lot of runs around them. So those are the 3 challenges left for LSU as far as stopping the quarterback run. And before we go forward to talk about how to stop those, I did want to go backwards and just look at some of the athletic quarterbacks that LSU has played. Yeah, if you look at the stat sheet, Lenora Sellers gashed LSU on the ground. 10 carries for 88 yards. You know the caveat that's coming next. 75 of the 88 come on one run, right up the middle, touchdown. So outside of that, it wasn't like he was running all over the place, not like Reed was on Saturday. Robbie Ashford came in. You knew he wanted to run the ball. 11 carries for 11 yards. He did have one long one of 15, but you had some sack yardage, and he didn't get loose. Taylon Green, 6 carries for negative 10 yards with a long of 7. Those guys are SEC run-heavy offenses that did not get going outside of one long carry. And then if you want to toss this in there, you can take it if you want. You can throw it out if you want. Either way. Gio Lopez from South Alabama, 10 carries for 33 yards with a long of 12. That's 3 yards a carry. I bring that one up because you knew that was a read option offense with a dual threat quarterback who the week prior had run for over 100 yards in a conference game against Coastal Carolina. This is what I'm telling you in my assertion here on LSU's ability to stop running quarterbacks defensively. I think they can. I don't think this is some sort of unfixable problem moving forward. They were underprepared against Texas A&M. And I came on this show yesterday, 24 hours ago from right now, and I said, look, I can't be sure that they didn't spend enough time on Jalen Reed. I wasn't at practice. Well, I had not heard the Greg Penn soundbite. That's on me. That should have crossed my radar. It just didn't. And I wasn't in the locker room post-game, obviously, and I just had not seen that sound. I had listened to Brian Kelly's press conferences. I had read some stories, but I had not seen Greg Penn's, we didn't really prepare for that. And that's on me. That's my mistake. I'm here to own that. But as I've said many times, I'm never going to be afraid to come back the next day and say, I was wrong about that. Here's why, and here's what I think now. New information comes up, new opinion formed. That's where I am here. They didn't do a good enough job getting ready. They will prepare for Jalen Milroe. They will prepare for Diego Pavia. They will prepare for DJ Lagway. And they will prepare for Michael Hawkins and Jackson Arnold, depending on where that's shaken out at this point. But they'll be prepared moving forward. And I think, like they were prepared against Lenora Sellers, like they were prepared against Taylon Green, they've got the ability to take that away. Now, Jalen Milroe is probably the best running quarterback in the country. I would be comfortable saying he's the most gifted quarterback in the country. And Diego Pavia is a menace. He is a madman that is driving defensive coordinators at the most powerful brands in the Southeastern Conference nuts. So I'm not telling you they're going to stop them. What I'm telling you is this feels like a more fixable problem than LSU's inability to run the ball against good teams. This feels like a situation where LSU can prepare for these guys. And in instances where they did prepare, they've played better. We got all of next week to break down every stat and every scenario with Jalen Milroe. But we know what happened this past Saturday. We know what's on the horizon. And I feel like LSU can correct this. Whether they do or not, we'll probably tell the story on where this team finishes. Because like I've said, the offensive output is pretty consistent. They're going to gain a bunch of yards. They're going to throw it a lot. They're going to score some touchdowns. Yes, they've turned it over. But it's not like they've had one go in the deep freeze offensively. No, that hadn't happened. Even Saturday, they threw for 405 yards. They gained 430 yards. The offense is pretty consistent. The defense has got to pick it up a little bit in that second half, even though they're on short fields, and I think they have a chance to do that. We'll see. That's our Genesis of Baton Rouge opening drive. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Matt McMahon, LSU basketball, when we come back on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big, big deal in the bathroom. It can be a hazardous place for anybody, but especially those that are aging. It can get slippery, hard surfaces on the ground. That's a pretty bad combination for those that are aging. If there's an aging person in your life that wants to stay home but may need some safety precautions put into the bathroom, get that done. Non-slip floors are available, handrails in the bathtub shower areas. You can put in a walk-in tub that's more convenient and safer. They can put a bench in the shower. Make sure that things are safe. Prevent those falls to the best of your ability, at least mitigate against them. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Get that free consultation. Ask about financing. It is available with David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more. Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Getting close to hoop season across the country. Exhibitions going on over the weekend. There will be another one tonight inside the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. 7 o'clock tip-off between LSU and Loyola of New Orleans. LSU head basketball coach Matt McMahon, good enough to give us a little time here before they get out there for some shoot-around and get out there for an exhibition this evening. Coach, we appreciate some time. How are you?
Doing well, man. I appreciate you having me on.
It is our pleasure. You're telling me I've got a 3-year-old dinosaur that's been dressed up for like 3 weeks, screaming and yelling every single day. I can just bring him to the PMAC and leave him with you for a couple hours?
We have a place for your 3-year-old tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, and please come in full costume tonight.
Free admission. There's going to be some costume contests, candy for the kids. It's going to be a lot of fun, and LSU's going to play a little bit of basketball. What are you specifically looking to get out of this exhibition tonight with your guys?
I think from a behind-the-scenes standpoint, Hunt, just getting your game day operation down, that the players understand, how you prepare from a scouting report standpoint, game plan, what shoot-around looks like, what pregame meal, how you warm up, all those little details I think is important. And then as far as on the court, really just trying to establish what we want the identity of this team to be. And I think that always has to start with the effort that you play with the unselfishness that you play with. And I think with our athleticism, we should be able to play a fun style of basketball. So there'll be plenty to work out after tonight, but really want to lay the foundation there for our fans to see us for the first time.
You said yesterday, meeting with the media, that Jalen Reed would definitely be among the starters tonight, and you've talked about him in multiple press outings now, the development you've seen from him. What are you expecting in year 3 for Jalen Reed here at LSU?
Well, I think it starts with his body. I think you can see the transformation there. He's now 6'10", 250 pounds. He's brought his body fat down. He's moving better than he ever has. I think he's playing with great physicality around the basket. And so, he needs to be an elite rebounder for us as well. And he's shown incredible flashes. I mean, you look back at that Kentucky game last year, some of the moves and finishes he's making at the rim. Now, can we take that, bump that to 25-plus minutes a game, increase that production as he makes this jump from year 2 to 3? And I really believe that you'll see him do those things.
As far as the backcourt goes, you bring in Jordan Sears, who's a fifth-year senior, who's been incredibly productive in his time at UT Martin. Mike Williams comes back for you, did a nice job filling in at the point guard spot last year. And then Curtis Gibbons, top 50 player in the country, as a point guard as well. How do you expect to kind of handle that rotation?
Yeah, I think at the point right now you have Jordan Sears and Curtis Gibbons. You have Mike Williams playing more off the ball at the 2 with his ability to shoot the 3. But Jordan and Curtis have been terrific here in the preseason. You mentioned Jordan's experience, his 5th year playing. And then Curtis, with 2 years at Montverde, I think he's very ahead of his time as a true freshman. So I really like our point guard play. It's been very inconsistent over the last 2 years, and I think we've really shored that up through recruiting this past season.
Sears filled the stat sheet up like crazy, scoring, assists, steals, the whole thing at UT Martin. Do you expect that to translate to the SEC, or is his role at a higher level a little bit different as the point guard?
Well, that's the biggest question right there, Hunt. I don't expect him to average 21, 6, and 5 like he did at Martin, but I do expect a lot of production from him. And, he's one of the top 5 catch and shoot 3-point guys in the country a year ago. I think he has to make the transition here to the SEC, which means, when he's got great speed and quickness. When you get into the paint, though, you have to make some different decisions in the SEC versus the OVC. So I think he's starting to learn those things, and I expect him to have a big year for us.
Jai Bailey and Cam Carter, a couple of guards, wings you brought in the transfer portal that are older players that have kind of a defensive pedigree to them. What are you expecting from those guys, and why did you identify them to bring them in?
Yeah, impact, immediate impact from both. Cam's a more proven scorer. Both really elite defenders on top 25 defenses in the country a year ago. Cam at Kansas State, Jai at Richmond. The 3 of those seniors, Cam, Jai, and Jordan, over 7,000 minutes of college basketball game experience. And so in addition to their basketball ability on both ends of the floor, there's an expectation that they'll bring leadership to our locker room and our timeout huddles for sure.
Corey Chest is an interesting one because he was a 4-star recruit and guy that was pretty high profile, and then he redshirted, of course, last year. What do you expect to see from him this year?
Hunt, he is one of the best instinctual rebounders that I've been around. He just has a knack for his relentless pursuit of the ball, both on the offensive and defensive glass. I think he's got to be a high energy, high motor, hard playing dude. I mean, he's got great athleticism. The other thing I like about him, he can defend every position on the floor. He's a very good perimeter defender against guards. And then down in the post, I think he uses his speed and quickness to get an advantage down there as well. But, to sum it up, that defensive and offensive glass is where he needs to make his biggest impact for us.
Chatting with Matt McMahon, LSU head basketball coach. Tigers on the hardwood at the PMAC tonight, 7 o'clock exhibition game against Loyola New Orleans. Again, free admission if you want to come out and watch a little bit of basketball. As far as rim protection goes, how do you feel about that right now?
Yeah, I think Damian Collins and Rob Miller provide incredible length. Both are 7'5" with their wingspan and elite athletes as well. Corey, even at 6'8", is a rim factor on the defensive end of the floor. So I think those are the 3 guys that we would really count on from a rim protection standpoint. And obviously we know the value and importance of that position here in this league.
I talked to you on the pregame show after we watched a little practice a few weeks ago, and we talked about how well your team runs, even the bigs. Do you anticipate playing quickly this year?
I think it makes sense. I think the way we're constructed, Hunt, it would not make sense at all to be a slow down team, grind you out in the half court. We really, at the forward positions, we have a lot of 6'10", 6'11", long, athletic, fast guys. We don't have just your big bruisers and bangers down there in the post. So that would certainly be our goal. I think we have good speed and quickness and decision makers in the backcourt. So we plan to get after it. We want to be disruptive defensively. And then in the offensive end of the floor, we want to play extremely fast and be very efficient there.
I'll let you get to shoot around one more here, Coach. And it's obviously we can't speak specifics, but I can read the internet. Recruiting seems to be going pretty well. How do you feel about the class that y'all are putting together and just kind of building that program from the high school ranks like you want to?
Yeah, I'm fired up about it, Hunt. I think you have to. It's great to have one good class, but you got to start stacking your classes. And so now you bring in this top 10, top 15 class, and Curtis Givens, Rob Miller, Victorious Miller, Corey Chest goes into that class off the red shirt. Now you follow that up with what right now is a top 5 class in the country. And obviously would like to add one more to that. I'm really excited about it. And, you can feel the momentum starting to build. I always talk about it. LSU is such a big-time place that you can really attract the best players in the country here, and that's what we continue to aim to do on a daily basis.
Coach, we appreciate some time on a game day. We'll see you in the PMAC tonight.
Awesome. Come out and see us tonight at 7. Appreciate you, Hunt.
That's LSU head basketball coach Matt McMahon, as we mentioned a couple times, but if you're just catching it at the end there in your car. 7 o'clock tonight, LSU, Loyola, New Orleans. It is free to go, and they've got costume contests for the kiddos, candy that they're giving away. as well. They've got discounted concessions every single Tuesday that includes some happy hour specials as well. So if you're looking for something to do tonight and want to get out there and the kids just dying to put the Halloween costume on, like the one in my house who's been roaring like a dinosaur for a month now since we purchased this costume for like whatever it was, $5. It's going to be an awesome night, and I can't wait to get out there and just watch a little bit of hoops. Again, you're facing an AI team, so I don't anticipate it's going to be overly competitive. But it will be something to watch, and I've written a preview up at louisianasports.net for tonight's game, and I'll certainly have a recap after this one is done. I'll be writing that recap for louisianasports.net at Pluckers because I'll have sports trivia tonight at 8:30. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Pluckers, so I invite you to get on by Pluckers after you go check out the game. Get something to eat, play some sports trivia. Be watching the World Series. It may end tonight. Baseball season may come to a close this evening. We'll be watching as well as some football there. It's always a great time on Tuesdays to get on by Pluckers. Nicholson location, 8:30. Get on by and see us play some sports trivia, win some gift cards, drink some cold beer, eat some awesome food, and generally enjoy Tuesday night as we do each and every week. Appreciate Pluckers for bringing you our Tuesday shows. We'll take a time out, come back, we'll talk some football. Glen West, Go 24/7. He's with us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think Genesis, you think luxury. If you have thought about luxury vehicles and go, I can't afford a luxury vehicle, just wait a second. Genesis is a luxury line of vehicles at a reasonable price. And it's a fantastic experience in buying a car there. You go by, it's a first-class dealership, such a welcoming space, clean, got this incredible coffee machine. As I told you a couple times, Ellen, who works with us, we were there at Genesis meeting with a team, and Ellen's like, I don't even drink coffee that much, but this machine's so awesome. I just got to try it. You can get coffee every which way from this deal. I went over to the snack machine, but it's incredibly nice. And the brand ambassadors there are so wonderful to work with. The line of vehicles is just exceptional. And every single new Genesis that you purchase there from Genesis of Baton Rouge comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Also, 3 years of complimentary maintenance. That's fantastic. Everything they do over there, Genesis of Baton Rouge, is fantastic. If you're on Airline Highway and you're in the market for a new vehicle, just make that one more stop. You're probably going to hit 2 or 3. Just head over right there, Airline at PQ to Genesis of Baton Rouge, and try it. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt McMahon. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The best kept
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
All right, I have to talk about something here, Beck.
Okay.
I've been on the air for 30 minutes. I've been wearing these headphones for 30 minutes.
Yep. They don't work?
No, I think I just realized they're brand new. Does that sound right? I just looked at them. I don't recognize them.
Yeah, they look pretty new.
I've been wearing headphones for 30 minutes and didn't know they were new. That's an impressive ability to not pay attention.
Not that surprising.
No, not at all. They talk about the Enneagram stuff, like nines just don't really, they notice like 60% of the stuff that goes on, and that's kind of where I am. And that's just really, my wife would be not surprised at all that I did not notice. But it's great. They feel great. I just didn't notice for 30 minutes. Oh, man. Glen West, Go 24/7 senior writer with us every single Tuesday. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glen, how we doing?
Doing better, Hunt. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. A little bummed out after Saturday's festivities in Kyle Field. Did you go to College Station over the weekend?
I was a bit under the weather this last week. I'm still trying to get past it, but we're working through it. But we sent our buddy Bryce Kuhn over there, so he was in College Station watching what he described as an electric atmosphere that honestly rivaled LSU Ole Miss. So that was the report that I got back from Bryce.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. Like I don't love talking positively about A&M really in any sense, but I'm also not an idiot, and I've been to a lot of SEC stadiums that are really, really loud. I don't know if I saw the best of Kyle Field the one time I went there. Manziel was playing. It was 2012, but it was an early game, and they didn't know what they had in Johnny Manziel to that point. So I'm sure it was fantastic, and LSU did not handle it very well in the second half. What stood out to you about the meltdown?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably no different than a lot of people. I think just the nature of how quickly that fell apart was alarming for LSU and certainly for the fans watching, and I'm sure for the players and the coaches that were right in the middle of it. But to me, look, it was a couple things. Obviously, the Nussmeier turnovers was kind of what ignited that comeback from Texas A&M. I mean, you were sitting there with 8 minutes left in the third quarter thinking LSU was in complete control of this game. And really, in a matter of about 20 seconds, you had the Nussmeier interception and then the Marcel Reed substitution in for Connor Wegman, and he keeps the ball on a read option and houses it for a touchdown. And that was pretty much all it took for A&M to kind of seize control of that game and really kind of off to the races from there. But to me, I think probably if we're choosing between the two and choosing between the turnovers offensively or the lack of adjustments on defense, I think I got to stick with the defense here. I mean, it was just it was a very concerning look that they just were not able to get any kind of stops in that second half. I understand that they were on short fields for most of that second half due to some of the turnovers and some of the momentum that A&M was able to gather from that, but they really were on their heels for much of the third and fourth quarters. And even if LSU had gone down and kind of settled themselves offensively, which they did on one drive, they did have one good touchdown drive there in the second half, but you never felt good about their chances of actually getting back into that game after they lost the lead, because Marcel Reed and that running attack, they were just cooking them for 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 yards pretty much every carry. So that was very much a concern for me. And considering what you got coming up here in the next month of the season, you're going to see a lot more of those kinds of quarterbacks here over the next 3-4 weeks. So they're probably in the lab right now working on how to figure out what they can do with mobile quarterbacks. But that's got to be a huge theme for LSU here over the next month or so.
Yeah, I talked about that at the top of my show, and I went through the numbers for Robbie Ashford and Lenora Sellers in the South Carolina game. Taylon Green in the Arkansas game, and Gio Lopez for South Alabama, with the caveat that we all understand that's South Alabama, but he does run a lot, and they run a lot of read option. Sure. And in those 3 games, outside of one run, Lenora Sellers went 75 yards for a touchdown. LSU did a pretty good job against running quarterbacks. Do you think they're in trouble this last month against Milroe and Pavia and Lagway?
I lean more towards no, just because I do think that LSU or Blake Blaker and this defensive staff have proven that they can prepare well for starting quarterbacks. Like I think they've done a good job. I mean, you look at the A&M game; they completely shut down Connor Wegman. I mean, that offense had absolutely zero pulse for the majority of that first half and into the third quarter there. So their game plan obviously was working. I think probably the big difference to me between what Marcel Reed did versus what Taylon Green did the week before. I know that Brian Kelly has talked a little bit about kind of how maybe they didn't practice it a whole ton in the week leading up to the Marcel Reed game just because they were preparing for Connor Wegman, but they still had a lot of the principles in that they had put in for Taylon Green. And I think probably the difference was that Taylon Green was pulling the ball looking to pass, whereas Marcel Reed was pulling the ball looking to run. And they just did not have an answer. They did not fill their gaps well. They did not tackle all that well. I think those are fixable things that this defense can really work on over the next couple of weeks. And if they can, I think you're looking at a group that can certainly bounce back from this, even against quarterbacks that do have that running threat.
Where's the balance between you're asking Garrett Nussmeier to do too much and Garrett Nussmeier needs to stop throwing the ball to the other team? Like, where are you on those two ends of the spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, I think first you got to find some kind of a pulse in the run game. I mean, it's just so befuddling to me how 1 week you can look really solid in the run, and Caden Durham is breaking off these 8, 9, 10, 11-yard chunk yards runs, and then the next game he's got one carry that goes over 3 yards. I mean, like they were just stifled in that running game against a pretty good A&M front. But I think they have to find some kind of complementary game here to help Nussmeier out. And look, this is not to excuse Nussmeier's decision making in the second half. He made some really poor choices. He threw the ball 50 times, and what we know about Nussmeier is that he'll put the ball in harm's way throughout the course of a game. And those 3 decisions, those 3 interceptions, they came back to bite LSU in a big way. He's got to learn from that. He's got to be able to, have a little bit better control and understanding that, a 0-yard play is better than a turnover and throwing the ball away in some of those situations. I think that's something that he's continuing to learn in his first year as a starter. 7 turnovers in the SEC is not a recipe for success at any level, but you've just got to get that under control if you're him. And I think that there's a lot of truth though to what Brian Kelly says, is that we're just asking him to do everything. And if you can just get to a point where you're not asking him to do everything and have some kind of consistency in the run game, like we saw against Arkansas, this offense can move pretty well, pretty efficiently, and it can avoid turnovers. And so I think that's got to be what LSU tries to figure out here over the next month, but I have some real hesitancy that they're going to be able to do it, because I mean, at some point you are who you are. In a month left to go in the season, they have proven that they have just not been able to get this thing going on the ground on a consistent basis, and there's still time to fix it. But in the same token, you're not really thinking that it's not a likely outcome. I think at this point that they actually find that answer.
So for me, I think they're going to run the ball on Vanderbilt and Florida and Oklahoma, like they ran it on South Carolina, like they ran it on Arkansas. I don't know if they can run it on Alabama or not. And then you get into a situation where you got to ask Nussmeier to do everything again. And he kind of did it to an extent against Ole Miss with some help from the defense. But I think they can run the ball against mediocre fronts. And I think those last 3 are mediocre fronts. I think they have trouble when there's pros up there, and Bama has pros up there. So that's you got 2 weeks to figure that part out. And if they can, I think your chance is okay. If you can't, I think you're in big trouble.
Yeah, look, I actually like this matchup for LSU against Alabama in a couple of weeks from an offensive perspective. I mean, I think that there'll be some opportunities there for Nussmeier in the passing game to have success, and I don't think that Alabama's really blown people away in the secondary this year with their consistency. So I do think that LSU could have an advantage there, but to me, it's got to be you got to find some kind of a pulse in the run game to really kind of help balance that out. And so we'll see if they can do it. They've got 2 weeks to figure it out. When the last time they had a couple weeks stretch here to kind of figure things out and kind of reassess the run game, I thought they came out of that last bye week and were a little bit better, a little bit more consistent in both areas. So maybe it just takes an extra week of preparation here, but there's certainly a lot of work to be done. And like I said, I don't have any real faith that when the games really matter, even if LSU were to run the table here over the next 4 weeks, if you got to get into a playoff situation, an SEC championship game situation, can they have that balance against some of the elite teams in the country? I just don't know that they've proven that they can do that yet.
I would agree with that. Glen West, our guest, go 24/7. He's a senior writer there for all your team coverage, football, baseball, basketball, as well. The Tigers on the hardwood tonight against Loyola New Orleans. Just had Matt McMahon on. Y'all met with him yesterday. What are you looking for tonight? One or two things in a game they're going to dominate because you're playing an NAIA team. But what can you glean from this evening?
Yeah, I think probably just rotations. This is a team that's got 7 new players, 3 new freshmen and 4 new transfers. They got 6 returnees. I think I look at this roster and I kind of go down the line. Jalen Reed, Tyrell Ward, Cam Carter, Jordan Sears, and Mike Williams. Those are kind of the 5 for me that I think will have established roles throughout the course of the season. But there's minutes up for grabs there for those other, 2, 3, 4 spots in the rotation that whoever kind of seizes momentum of those. And I think there's a lot of guys there that they can choose from. But this is the most talent that I think Matt McMahon's had since he's been there. Curtis Givens is a guard that I really like and have gotten a chance to see him a couple times in practice. I just think he's got great control, great poise. Jide Bailey is somebody that they really like defend as a defensive presence for them. Their perimeter defense was not great last year, so having him and Cam Carter be kind of that 1-2 punch in the perimeter on their defense is going to be really important. And then just kind of which of those guys in the front court, whether it's Corey Chess, Robert Miller, Derek Fountain will be in there, Davian Collins, of course. Which of those guys next to Reed really kind of establishes himself, and kind of the rotation there is going to be really interesting for me to find out, because I think they're going to have to go small ball a lot. They're going to have a lot of three guard sets, 3 guard rotations out there. And so they're going to need some size there to help kind of complement that and get on the boards and protect the rim a little bit. So this is much less about me for the results tonight. It's going to be much more about just kind of how they spread out those minutes.
Appreciate it, Glenn. Enjoy a little bit of a weekend off, and we'll talk next week about LSU and Alabama.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Hunt.
Glen West, senior writer, go 24/7. You can check your team coverage, recruiting coverage as well, and he's with us every single Tuesday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. So I got a lot of football to get to today. At the top of the hour, so in 18 minutes, I want to talk about LSU's standing right now in terms of the college football playoff. I know that's not the most compelling conversation to have right after you lose a game. Everybody wants to fire everybody, and the staff is doomed, and the program's not going anywhere, and all that kind of stuff every time you lose a game. Everybody's losing games. So I want to talk a little bit about how things stand right now, because it's interesting to me that the SEC is where the teams are stubbing their toes, and you're not necessarily seeing that around the rest of the country. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the top of the hour. When we do come back to close out hour number 1, I want to give just a couple of thoughts on this LSU basketball team, and then we'll put that away until tomorrow and then into next week when they actually start playing real games. But it is a bye week for football. We're going to talk plenty of football. I think there's an opportunity here to squeeze a little bit of some thoughts on what I'm looking for in the basketball game tonight. So we'll do that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. They handle security, and there's nothing more important than the security of your home and your family. And for us, when we moved, we had to get the security system put in. Called Mitchell Fisher. He was at our house the next afternoon. We told him what we were looking for, what our budget was. Said, okay. And so they looked at all the windows, put the sensors there, put the burglar alarm in, hung the cameras. We've got the app set up. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter where I am, I can look at my front door. I can look at my back door, my backyard, my front yard. I can see in a crystal clear picture. I don't pay any cloud storage fees. I can pause. I can rewind. I can zoom in. It's been fantastic. I can also arm my burglar alarm. I can disarm it remotely as well. Whenever I go out in the morning for an early run and my wife and kid are still sleeping there, I arm the on the burglar alarm as I go run. And then I come back, disarm it, come back on in the house. My wife loves it. We've loved it. And the customer service has been fantastic from Audio Video Security Solutions. So if you're looking to put that burglar alarm in, you're looking to get cameras in your front yard, backyard, Audio Video Security Solutions. That's your one-stop shop. Check them out online, avssla.com. You can see them on Instagram as well, avss_BR. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Sharie and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
All right, closing up hour number 1 here on Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Me and the Myers man had Pluckers for lunch on Sunday. Chicken and French fries, that's a winner for the Myers man. There's like 4 things he'll eat. Chicken and French fries, as long as there's ketchup involved, that hits. And I wanted to drink a beer and watch the football, so we did that at Pluckers on Sunday. Wonderful time, as the wife was at a baby shower that I definitely did not want to be at. Pluckers, way better than baby showers. Let's close out hour number 1, talking a little bit of basketball. I've got a story up at louisianasports.net right now, kind of previewing tonight's exhibition. Again, like, I understand that there's not going to be a ton to draw from this. You're playing in an NAIA school. So this is an opportunity, as Matt McMahon said. Like, I asked him, what are you trying to get out of this? He said, we want to make sure everybody knows when to get to shoot around, what to eat before the game, pregame warm-ups, make sure everybody's in the right place. Like, that's the stuff that they're trying to get the order of operations down for the game next week. Then he said, as far as on the floor, play hard. So, like, this is not, you're not going to watch this game and go, oh, man, I think this team's like, maybe like a chance to get Sweet 16, or this team can't make the tournament. Like, they're scrimmaging in NAIA school tonight. So I'm not trying to give like some sort of sweeping generalizations on what goes on the floor. Matt McMahon did answer my number one thing to watch tonight that I wrote about on the site in our interview earlier today. And if you missed that, you can catch it on demand. But he said, I asked him about point guard, and he said that Jordan Sears would handle most of it with Curtis Givens, the freshman. So you got a fifth-year senior and a true freshman. And then Mike Williams is going to play off the ball a little bit. And we saw last year Mike Williams was basically thrust into the point guard job because Jalen Cook was ineligible, and then he was eligible, and then he was out for a little bit, and then he left. Like, it was just a mess. And Trey Hannibal basically did a lot of the point guard stuff late last year. But Mike Williams acquitted himself pretty nicely and shot the ball better than 40% from three in SEC play last year. I thought he did a really nice job for LSU. I think he'll be a good player off the ball because he shoots it really well. And that's something that Jai Bailey does not, and he's going to be a wing defender for them. He doesn't really shoot at all. LSU's got a guard on this team that doesn't shoot. I just want y'all to be aware of that. All he did last year, I think he shot like 60-something% for Richmond last year because all he did was shoot layups. He's a defensive player, and that's what he's on the team for. Cam Carter's a good shooter. He's got kind of an unorthodox shot, and I don't know how much you can count on him to be a dead-eye shooter. But Tyrell Ward and Mike Williams can be, and if you can get Curtis Givens and Jordan Sears to create shot opportunities for them, then you've really got something. So point guard, it doesn't sound like Mike Williams is going to play a lot unless there's foul trouble or an injury. I'm thrilled to watch Curtis Givens. I think Jordan Sears is going to be the starting point guard on this team. I think Curtis Givens' role is going to expand as the season goes on because I think he's going to be a really, really good player for LSU. He's got great length and size. He's really under control when he handles the basketball. He does a great job distributing. He shoots it okay. I think he's going to be a really good point guard for LSU as time goes on. So I'm excited to see Sears and Givens handle the ball a little bit. Jalen Reed is the guy that everybody's raving about. You heard me ask Mike McMahon about him a little bit earlier. He mentioned Jalen Reed by name earlier yesterday when he met with the media. If LSU is going to be good this year, and if LSU is going to win 9, 10, 11 conference games and make the tournament, then he's going to have to be an all-SEC player. Like, that's just the way this goes. When Jalen Reed got to LSU, he was a 6'10" driving scorer. That's what his profile was in high school. He wasn't a back-to-the-basket guy. He handled the ball and drove to the rim and scored. And then he tried that his freshman year, and guards picked his pocket, and he couldn't finish with those SEC bigs as a true freshman. Like, he was a mess a lot of the time offensively trying to do that. Last year, you saw some progression there. Plus, he went out and didn't shoot a lot of threes, but he shot some threes from the corner and from the wing, and he shot them at almost 40%. So if he can sparingly shoot threes at 38, 39, 40%, and then use that driving game that got better last year and then take it to the next level where now he's one of the oldest guys on the court. He's one of the strongest guys on the court, and he's used to the speed of the game, and now he can start finishing at the rim. Well, now you've got a really dynamic scorer and a guy that's a matchup problem at 6'10", who can move and drive and shoot some from the outside. He's got to be the dude for LSU based on what we're hearing out of that program. And I'm excited to see a good bit of that. I'm also curious to see Corey Chest. I asked Matt McMahon about him earlier, and he said this guy is a great rebounder, and he's physical, and he can defend. And we know, based on the profile of this team, that they should be much better defensively. You think about some of the guys LSU had out there last year. Tyrell Ward's not a great defender. Now, he's still on this team, obviously. He's a great shooter, not a great defender. Trey Hannibal, a little undersized to be playing out on the perimeter defensively. Will Baker, not a good defender. Jordan Wright, average defender. Good with steals, average as far as quickness goes. Jalen Cook, not a great defender. Like, you had a lot of guys out there who aren't very good defenders. Well, they fixed that now. They've got Jai Bailey. They've got Cam Coleman. And those two guys are really good perimeter defenders. And Corey Chest is a tough dude who's got great athleticism and physicality to him, and he's going to have to help on defense as well. And then hopefully Robert Miller or Damian Collins or both can help you protect the rim. And then you got Sears at the top, who was a great steals guy last year for Tennessee Martin, and hopefully some of those instincts pay off as well. They should be better defensively. We'll give a whole season preview next week and kind of my bold predictions and what I think about this team. It's so weird to try to handicap SEC basketball year to year because the rosters turn over so very much. And LSU's no exception. 7 new guys on this team. I think 5 of them are going to play big roles. So I'm excited to get out there to the PMAC tonight to watch a little bit of them. If you're just getting your car going, what? PMAC tonight? I didn't know basketball was starting. Tonight, exhibition with Loyola of New Orleans, 7 o'clock, free admission for everybody, happy hour concession prices. They've got costume contests for the kids, candy to give out as well. Should be a fun time inside the PMAC, free of charge. I don't anticipate there's going to be a huge crowd in there, so if you're worried about that, I wouldn't. I think if you'd like to come bring the kiddos out or just watch some hoops, should be a fun one at the PMAC tonight, 7 o'clock, LSU and Loyola, New Orleans. If you want to read about it, you can at louisianasports.net. I've got a piece up there. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open the show talking about LSU dealing with running quarterbacks. You can find that at YouTube, Hunt on LSU. I think LSU's got work to do there, but I don't think it's some sort of crisis. And I talked about why based on the matchups they'll see moving forward. Matt McMahon was good enough to join us right before shoot-around at 1:15. You can go check that out on demand as well. And Glen West, Go 24/7, gave us a little bit of time talking some LSU football. We're going to pause for SportsCenter, but a lot to do in hour number 2. Sharie Aack at the bottom of the hour talking Saints. What's going on over there? We'll do that with Sharie at 2:30. When we come back, college football playoff picture. Where does LSU fit in? We're talking about it coming up next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Peace of mind is such a powerful thing, and Boudreaux's Electrical can offer you that. In this part of the world, we have hurricanes, we have power outages. Prevent them. Boudreaux's Electrical Services can do that. Neil and Melissa have been running that shop down there in Napoleonville for 40 years. And if you hear that and go, Napoleonville, well, that's not close to me. Let me call somebody else. No, they've also got a location in Gonzales, and they can service anywhere in our listening area. Boudreaux's Electrical is happy to send one of their full-time employees out, survey your situation, pick the generator that best fits your need, get that thing installed so that you've got peace of mind of knowing that when the power goes out, you're not without electricity. Whether you work from home, you're riding out a hurricane, or you evacuate and you want to come back home and you don't want to come back home to a 98-degree house with no power and a fridge that's all spoiled. Don't do that. Call the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical, 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. I give you the easy way every single day. BoudreauxElectrical.com, BoudreauxElectrical.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the...
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, a quarterback change in Indianapolis. ESPN's Adam Schefter and Jeremy Fowler report the Colts benching former first-round pick Anthony Richardson and turning to veteran Joe Flacco. 2 days ago, Richardson briefly took himself out of the game because he was tired. That's likely only one reason for the move, believes former Colts safety Darius Butler.
Definitely not ideal, for the organization, for the team. You want ideally for the young quarterback you drafted high to develop, become the face of the franchise, become an all-time great, 10, 15 years, win a couple Super Bowl championships. But how it isn't necessarily always connected to how it started.
Darius Butler on the Pat McAfee Show. Texans receiver Stephon Diggs out the rest of the season, torn ACL. Teams also dealing with the injury absence of receiver Nico Collins. Schefter also reports the Ravens acquired receiver Deontay Johnson from the Panthers. Despite Aaron Judge's struggles at the plate and the Yankees down 3-0, manager Aaron Boone has no plans to move his slugger up or down the lineup for a must-winning Game 4 of the World Series tonight against the Dodgers. Coverage 7 Eastern, ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming on Wednesday. The Chiefs are undefeated and their defense is rolling. So is this the year that Mahomes is a passenger on the way to the Super Bowl? It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. 2 locations in Baton Rouge, Nicholson just south of campus, and Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. I'll be the Nicholson location tonight, just after LSU's exhibition basketball game for a little sports trivia, 8:30. Come on by and see us, win some gift cards. It's always fun on Tuesday night to be watching the World Series and some football as well. Speaking of football, let's talk college football playoff. And our conversation has shifted here in Baton Rouge regarding the college football playoff as LSU takes its second loss. Now, one of those losses is out of the conference, and we'll talk about that, but it leaves LSU in the race in the Southeastern Conference. But for the purpose of the discussion now that we will have, LSU must run the table. So every hypothetical that we toss out involves LSU running the table, because if LSU does not run the table, LSU will not be in the college football playoff. Agreed? Agreed. So let's just discuss LSU as a 10-2 team with losses to USC and to Texas A&M. What I find interesting about the college football playoff picture is that the only teams really stubbing their toe are in the SEC. Alabama losing at Vanderbilt is stubbing your toe. LSU losing to a USC team that can't win a game is stubbing your toe. Those are bad losses. Tennessee going to Arkansas and losing that game, that is stubbing your toe. Now, it's your only loss, but it is stubbing your toe. And then Ole Miss losing to Kentucky at home is stubbing your toe. Those are losses against inferior opponents that you could term bad losses. And I start to look around the rest of the conference, and outside of Notre Dame, who absolutely stubbed their toe on Northern Illinois, but in the other conferences, you're not seeing that. Clemson's loss is to Georgia. It was ugly, but it's to Georgia. Ohio State's loss is at Oregon. That's not a death sentence. Kansas State lost to undefeated BYU. Now, they got rocked, but that's their only loss to a team that is undefeated at this point. So you look around, and you're looking at a bunch of teams that are either undefeated or have a good loss. And LSU, at best, is going to be sitting there with 2 losses. So I'll start to comb through the conferences, and we'll start in the ACC. Miami's 8-0. We talked about Clemson, 6-1. And then you've got Pittsburgh and SMU who will play this week in what could be an elimination game, certainly would be for SMU, maybe is for Pitt, but Pitt also plays Clemson on November the 16th in Pittsburgh, so maybe they work their way back into the discussion. We're only talking at large here. We're not talking about a team that wins the conference because you're already in at that point. That's not worth a discussion.
Well, here's what is interesting though about Pitt though is what if they do lose to SMU and then win out, make the conference championship game and then lose? That's when it becomes a question.
That it does, and it's a question of like that's how much do you. How bad's the SMU loss? That's hard for me to discern. How much worse is losing to SMU than losing to USC? I know what the records say, but I don't know how different that is. But the ACC still, to me, feels like a 2-team league. I don't think Miami, Clemson, and Pittsburgh are getting in the college football playoff. It could happen. That scenario works out where Clemson runs the table. So does Miami outside of the loss to Clemson. And then Pitt is 11-1, doesn't get into the championship game. And then Miami is a 1-loss at-large, and Clemson is a 1-loss champion. That I could see that being 3. But again, you need someone to stub their toe if you're LSU, like everyone in the SEC is doing, but nobody in this league's doing. In the Big 12, you got BYU undefeated, Iowa State undefeated, and K-State with 1 loss to BYU. Like, there's no one's lost to Oklahoma State yet here who hasn't won a league game. Like, there's not a bad loss. So what I'm getting at as we continue to pick through this conference by conference is like, what is a 2-loss LSU with a loss to USC and a loss on the road at A&M and wins over Ole Miss and Bama? How does that stack up against a 1-loss non-champion from the Big 12 or the ACC? Like, that's the crux of this. And I just don't know that we have enough hard data to form a true opinion. Like, we've watched them do the 4-team thing, and we've watched injuries impact things, and we've watched conference championship losses impact things, and I don't know how apples to apples that is with 12. You go to the Big 10. Illinois is finally done. We can scratch them off the list. They lose their second game. But Oregon's undefeated, Indiana's undefeated, Penn State's undefeated, and Ohio State has 1 loss to an undefeated. You see the difference between the Big 10 and the SEC, where you got Kentucky losses and Arkansas losses and USC losses? Vanderbilt losses? Like, those, I feel like, are going to matter. And yes, we also have wins in Austin, Texas. Wins over Ole Miss. Bama beat Georgia. Like, you got to weigh those too. I'm just not comfortable and confident telling you exactly how all that matters. I feel like as I sit here and we're just getting to November, and by the time we play meaningful football this weekend, we'll be in November. I feel like big wins are going to be rewarded, 1, and 2, not everybody is going to hold on to these 0-1 losses. There will be teams that get eliminated. LSU and Bama will eliminate themselves. Pittsburgh and SMU may eliminate themselves. Iowa State and Kansas State play in the season finale. They may eliminate one another. But you're going to need another loss for those teams somewhere else. And you're kind of running out of weeks to pin 2 losses on everybody. Like, we're not going to pin 2 losses on Miami, Clemson, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oregon, Indiana, Penn State, Ohio State, and then Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, and A&M. Like, that's a lot of teams that still have to lose a game or 2, and I don't think all of them are. You just have to hope as an LSU fan, as we sit here, that some of them lose, that you personally take care of Ole Miss and Alabama to knock them out, that Georgia takes care of Tennessee, and the committee thinks that your wins over Ole Miss and Alabama and Vanderbilt and Florida stand tall.
And then, of course, you have the Notre Dame problem.
Notre Dame is a problem. You're going to probably have to ask. The big result on the Notre Dame side of things is what?
They're winning against Texas A&M.
No, in the future.
Oh, USC.
USC. There's something there where USC beats you both, and Northern Illinois is a worse loss. Okay, who's your best win? You did go to College Station and win. What's next? Navy,
Army.
Yeah, I mean it's semantics. It's fun. And look, I want to be very clear about this. This is good. This is a good thing. And I'm going to write a column about this at some point, maybe this week, maybe next Monday when I've been writing some columns for .net. LSU and Alabama have played monumentally important games over the course of the last 20 years. Of course, everyone points to 2011. You can point to 2012 where the SEC West was still in the balance. You can go a couple of years later to 2015 in Tuscaloosa when Leonard Fournette there went there undefeated to play a one-loss Alabama team. And those games featured higher-ranked LSU and Alabama teams because they had 0 or 1 loss. And that's what makes college football so great is that game's got so much importance attached to it. Because you got 1 loss or 0 loss and you have to win this regular season game. And there are many people that said, well, if you put 12 teams in the playoff, you're devaluing those games. Well, guess what? Neither LSU nor Alabama is sitting here today feeling like they've got a great chance to win the national championship. But next Saturday is massive because somebody walks out of there done, and the other one walks out of here going, okay, I got to beat who now? I could do that.
And I've got 2 or 3 really good wins.
And if you were in the 4-team playoff and you were a 2-loss Alabama and a 2-loss LSU, and you were looking at a no-loss A&M in league play, 1-loss Texas, 1-loss Georgia, 1-loss Tennessee, you'd be going, well, I can't get to Atlanta. I can't get in. It's over. But it's not over. That's awesome. And I get how much fun the 11 Bama game was, and I get how much fun the 12 Bama game was until it wasn't, and I get how much fun the Fournette game was until it wasn't, and all that's great, but this is awesome that you've lost 2 games, you are a flawed team, but you've got a fighting chance, and you've set up what would have been a dud in Tiger Stadium, relatively speaking, and now it's huge. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is, and the point about all these other conferences, none of the teams have stubbed their toe is interesting to me because I think we're going to see in the next few years with this 12-team playoff, it's going to be I'm going to be curious to see what the committee decides to do with teams that get to their conference game with 1 or 2 losses. 2, if you get to the conference game with 2 and you lose, there's probably no chance. But it will be interesting to see how. Because people always, even 14 playoffs, people always talked about sometimes teams get punished for making their conference championship game. I personally think teams shouldn't get punished for making the conference championship. It doesn't make much sense to me why you were getting punished for losing a game that you got to because you did so well in the season. So
I'll play devil's advocate. It's the term risk reward. That's your risk in qualifying. Not that you have any say. You can't not go.
No.
But you also have a massive reward. You as a 2-loss team, if you go, can get a bye.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal. So in any year where you got 2 losses, and I don't really want to play Georgia, to be quite frank.
No.
That doesn't sound great. But you've got a chance to go there and earn a bye. And now you've got a real chance to make a push. So there is a reward there that I think is worthwhile. But to the point that you made right before that, it's I just don't think there are a lot of years where we can sit here in November and Pitt and Iowa State are undefeated and haven't lost that stupid game at Texas Tech.
Yeah, it really never
haven't lost
happens.
that stupid game at Boston College or whatever. I'm assuming they're coming because they always do, but they certainly haven't yet.
They haven't.
And so I'm curious. These teams just keep winning. And this week you'll see Pitt and SMU, and I'm assuming that we'll see a little bit of movement there. Miami's tried.
They have
tried to have that loss, and they just can't quite get to the finish line losing. They find a way to win.
And by the way, Pitt has too. I mean, Pitt almost lost to North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, Pitt lost to California. They had a close game against West Virginia, close game against Cincinnati. They've won a lot of close games, too.
I'll tell you who's not about to stub their toe is Indiana. They're beating the brakes off everybody.
They are. It's probably maybe one of the best stories in college football this year.
I mean, we've talked about their schedule a bunch. I think a lot of people are familiar with it. But it's at Michigan State, who stinks, Michigan, who stinks, at Ohio State, where they'll probably lose, and then Purdue, who's awful. So it's like I don't. Michigan could beat them. But.
Yeah, one interesting thing, we were talking about the Big Ten, about how there's so many teams that haven't lost or only lost one. There is actually a scenario. I saw this on Twitter. There is a scenario where if Indiana, Oregon, and Penn State all finish, because they don't play each other, if they all finish undefeated at the end of the conference schedule, Oregon would be left out. Oregon would be undefeated but not make their conference championship game because of they have to go to so many tiebreakers, and eventually they would be undefeated non-conference
It'd be the auto 5 seed hosting Boise again.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me that you could be undefeated and not make your conference championship.
That's what
game.
happens when we start having 16-team conferences. Quite frankly, like you can't play everybody, and that's just the way it goes. All right, that's a look at the college football playoff picture. We'll get more information this week as LSU sits on the sideline and watches. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Do you hate going to the car dealership to buy a car? You don't like the experience. You feel pressured. It's a lot of time consumed out of your day. Maybe it's on the weekend. It's just not your thing. Well, make it easier. Genesis of Baton Rouge will make it easier. You can check out the entire lot online at genesisbatonrouge.com. If you decide you see something you like, give them a call. One of their brand ambassadors will drive that car to you at home, at work, wherever the case may be. They'll go with you on a test drive, give you all the information that you need. And if you decide, this is the one for me, they can do an e-contract, digital delivery. You never set foot at the dealership. Now, I would recommend setting foot at the dealership because it's incredible. Right there, PQ and Airline, first-class facility. But they make it easy for you. It's a luxury brand, and with the luxury line of vehicles comes incredible perks. You got a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 3 years, complimentary maintenance. You hate getting the oil changed, hate the wiper blades, cabin air filter. They'll come get your car, they'll handle it, and they'll bring it right back to you. That's the kind of service that you're going to get from the folks at Genesis of Baton Rouge. If you're in the market for a vehicle and you haven't thought about Genesis, which is likely because they haven't been here all that long, put them on your list. Give them a try. I promise you will not be disappointed. The entire line of vehicles right there online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Hey, it's Matt McMahon. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
At Luba Workers' Comp, Our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luva, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Playing quarterback in the NFL, tough as a rookie. Spencer Rattler has learned that the hard way, got benched. Tough go for him. Jaden Daniels not having as many issues as Spencer Rattler. In fact, everything seems to be coming up Jaden these days outside of the rib injury. Almost held out against Chicago. Still, he threw for over 300 yards and had the Hail Mary that won the game against number 1 pick Caleb Williams and the Bears. And because of that, you got Jaden Daniels up to the 5th best odds to win the National Football League's MVP at this point. He's all the way down to 14-1 to be the most valuable player, not rookie, not most outstanding rookie, offensive rookie of the year, to be the MVP of the league. He is down to 14-1. So your chances to score on that are pretty much toast. If you were going to get him for Rookie of the Year, you probably needed to get him in May. If you were going to get him for MVP, you probably needed to get him in late September because now you're not going to get a huge bang for your buck on that. There's a lot of shifting over the last week. You saw Kirk Cousins go up from 66-1 to 33-1 to be MVP. You saw Matthew Stafford go from 200-1 to 100-1. On the flip side, Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams in losses both went from 55-1 to 125-1 to be MVP. Aaron Rodgers still somehow has reasonable odds to be the MVP. He was 100-1. Now he's 200-1, even though he never throws for any yards and they never win. He's still right there on the board. But Josh Allen is the favorite to be the MVP. But Jaden Daniels is right up there at 5th, and right there in Washington with him, Dan Quinn, the new favorite for NFL Coach of the Year. As far as Offensive Rookie of the Years go, it was a pretty sizable shift over the weekend with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. It was pretty close, but now Jaden Daniels, a slam dunk there. You're talking about plus 750 for Caleb Williams. He was plus 105 last week. So that's like a 70% difference in what you were going to get on a return there. You're going to get less than 1-1 on Jaden Daniels to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year at this point. So Bo Nix is creeping up. Ladd McConkey had a big day against the Saints. He crept up a little bit. Drake May bottomed out there. But Jaden Daniels looks like a runaway winner. And the question is not whether or not he's going to win Rookie of the Year, because I think he will if he stays healthy. The question is, can he win MVP? And can the Redskins, there it is, can the Commanders be a real threat in the NFC? I think most people would look at the Lions as the cream of the crop here. But San Francisco has shown some vulnerability. Philly played better last week, but we'll see how that goes in a couple of weeks when they match up. The South, I think Tampa and Atlanta are decent. I think Washington's every bit as good. And then you look out west outside of San Francisco, okay, Seattle's okay. They played well. Green Bay, okay.
NFC West is going to be really interesting, man. You've got 3 teams at 4-4. and the Rams at 3-4. The Rams seem to be like they want to rebuild.
Yeah.
They want to blow it up, but they just can't. They actually have won. So I don't know.
Helps when you play the Saints.
Yeah, it does help. But man, it's going to, the Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, I feel like the 49ers, obviously losing McCaffrey, just completely changed their season.
Right.
But that's going to be really, really tough to pan out, see who actually wins that one.
Would you say Washington's in the top 3 teams in the NFC by your eye? Not by the standings, by what you see. You're going to put the Lions in there. You're going to put the Packers in there. You're going to put the 49ers in there, Philly if you want. Do you think that Washington is a top 3 team in the NFC?
I think they're absolutely a top 5 team in the SEC. 3 maybe. I think 3. You could make a really good case for 3. You really could, because the Eagles have stubbed their toe a few times. The Lions look like clearly the best team in the NFC right now. The Packers have looked good too, but man, it's really tight. I think it's really tight at the top in terms of the top 3 or 4 teams. Man, the Commanders could certainly make a case. I would say they're probably 4 or 5. But you could easily say that they're the 3rd best team in the NFC right now.
So obviously Washington being a bad team last year, you catch a little bit of a break from a scheduling perspective.
Yeah.
Because of how things set up, and that's a good thing. But still, everyone that I talked to, we talked to the Washington Commanders beat writer before the season started. We talked to Denton Day, who covers the team and then obviously pulls for the team as well. And nobody really felt like Washington was in a place to compete realistically in year 1. And then all of a sudden you look up and you have to change your tune on that to this point. Now, schedule-wise moving forward, it gets pretty tough after this week. You got to go to New York this week, and you should win that game against the Giants. Then you got the Steelers, who I don't think are great, but they're
playing better.
Well.
Russell Wilson. They've
got a good coach, and they got an elite pass rusher, and they win games. But then you're at Philly, which is going to be a massive game in prime time. Then you got Dallas, who is up and down. And then you get 2 weeks where you ought to make some hay, quite frankly. You got the Titans, and then you're at New Orleans to play the Saints, who at that point should have Derek Carr back, but we'll see. Then you got Eagles and Falcons, and then you got the Cowboys. So it's still difficult because you still got 2 Eagles and 2 Dallases to play, and that's your division.
But the Cowboys, I mean, the Cowboys have looked they're 3-4, but if you talk to Taylor Sharp, a noted Cowboys fan here at the station, that they have not looked good.
No, they haven't, but I still just consider them functional.
Yeah. At Dallas, you would think, but I don't know, man. It's just so hard to judge them because the Saints went in there and blew them out in their own stadium, and then they also
look. I mean, the only game that Washington has lost since week 1.
Was at Baltimore.
Was a 1-score loss at Baltimore.
Yeah.
So it's they haven't beaten Murderers Row. They did go beat the Bengals. And then the rest of it is not super enthusiastic. It's the Cardinals, it's the Browns, it's the Panthers, it's the Bears.
Yeah, the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are also another team that have been up and down this year. They're currently tied for the
Washington beat them 42-14.
Yeah, and then they turn around and beat the 49ers, and then they beat the Dolphins this last week. So they're kind of been an up and down team, but again, it's like it's all in front of the Commanders, no question about it. I mean, they have a solid chance in the division, and they have a really good chance at a wild card.
I'm pulling for them. I hope they can get it done. We'll see. We'll talk some more NFL with Sharie, Shack, WDSU. Talking Saints when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBears Baton Rouge, make it your game day headquarters all season long. LSU off this weekend. If you want to spend Saturday watching all the college football at ESPN Bet inside LeBears, go ahead and do it. You can watch and wager and dine in person at ESPN Bet, and you can bet against me. Cover 5 SEC contest. You download the Cover 5 app, enter that code LABRSEC24. I've been hovering around 15th place, 16th place, 18th place, which is top 20%, but we got to get better. You can compete. Probably too late to get in on the season long run, but weekly there are prizes to be won as well. If you're not a member, get that Penn Play app today. LeBears Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt McMahon. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Tigers are off this weekend. Saints are not. They'll go to Carolina, play the Panthers, who are not very good. Saints, not very good right now either. For those who don't know how this works, when we have a guest on during the break, Beck picks up the phone, dials our guest, and says hello and gets them ready to come on the air with me. Appreciate all his hard work there. But it sounds like, based on the interaction that just went on between Sharie and Beck, that Sharie was being very unpleasant to Jacob based on the performance of the Saints over the last month and a half. Is that true, Sharie, that you were unpleasant when you picked up the phone?
I blame it on both LSU and the Saints this week.
Well, none of that was good, and I had to talk about it for 2 hours yesterday. So now is your time to talk about it for 15 minutes. Did you give the Saints much of a chance going to L.A., realizing that they were getting some of their offense back?
Yeah, I honestly, I really did. I mean, I thought maybe having Chris and Taysom back in the lineup as well, Cesar Ruiz, would inject some kind of life into the offense and help Spencer Rattler. And boy, was I ever wrong. I think it went downhill immediately on that first drive. I don't know if it was after the first drive. Whenever they had the safety and got the ball and punted from the Chargers 47. That was disgusting football. Like, your 5-game losing streak and you couldn't line Taysom up to go for it on 4th and 1 is a reason why you've lost 5 straight games. You just had no heart to go for it, and it's just. I've been hot take tweeting, which honestly is realistic tweeting, the last few days about this franchise. would get into it more. But yeah, when it comes to the game, that was a disaster.
Well, I don't really have any interest in talking about the game because it sucked and they lost and everybody knows the story. So let's talk about the big picture stuff with the franchise. I mean, what's your biggest point of contention? What is your biggest thought?
I think the biggest problem is Mickey Loomis, and I continue to say Mickey Loomis is the big problem. Everyone can kick and scream about Dennis Allen. Yes, he deserves to be gone, but the person who makes the decision also needs to be held accountable at some point in time. And it goes beyond the whole hire of Dennis Allen. It goes with he and Jeff Ireland have both made some very poor decisions when it comes to free agency and the draft since 2018, and they've allowed more misses than hits in the draft to happen, and they've let the roster age out. They've let the roster just become overly injured because they cannot find any depth the right way. It's just been a very bad combination of things that at some point in time you got to stop blaming the players and the coaches. Your front office has to take a brunt of the blame at some point. You can't just go on WWL radio and saying this and that you have to look beyond the results. It's not about the results. You can't tell that to the media when the season's over. If and we were close, that stuff just doesn't, sit well with the fan base. At some point in time, someone has to be held accountable. That's not the head coach. And I truly think that somebody above Mickey has to do something. I know Gail Benson is giving the team to Dennis Lauscher and Mickey Loomis and them, but at some point you have to look at the product and say, this isn't good enough. This is bad. You cannot let it regress to the 2005 and the 99 days with Ditka and then Haslett and Katrina. That's just, you cannot have come this far to go backwards, and that's where they are headed right now.
What's your confidence level that anything like that's going to change?
Nothing. Honestly, not. I mean, I just think that they want to stick it to everyone and show them that they can prove everyone wrong. I mean, it's loyalty to a default. They're not going to do any drastic changes whatsoever. I mean, I've been wrong before, but this is the one that I don't think I'll be wrong about. I think Mickey isn't going anywhere unless he just retires. He isn't going anywhere. He could do no wrong. They can go 2-15, and I wouldn't be surprised if everyone came back next year. I mean, that's just my gut is just feeling it that way, that they are not making any drastic changes. I think that Mickey wants to ride it out until they can somehow get this, turn over the roster, hit the reset button, and think that they can rebuild it again that way instead of completely just gutting it out and going the direction of some of the other teams who have not come back from resets. So, look, I don't know. I feel like this franchise is living in 2009, 15 years later. They have to, at some point, forget that it's, that is done. Drew and Sean are gone. You have erased everything they've done in the span of 4 years. Get over it, move forward, make the changes that are necessary to make your team a better franchise.
What's your interest level in the last 8 games of the schedule, whatever they have left?
Honestly, I really don't have any interest level whatsoever because what are they doing here? What are you doing? You're going to play to get to 7-8 wins and ruin your draft picks, and then you're going to get the same things I just told you a second ago. We're close, and if we weren't injured, you know how many times I hear that?
Yeah.
You know how many times you got to hear that? Ifs and we were close. It's just outrageous how many times you got to hear that. And at some point, the players are kind of getting sick and tired of the losing. You can just see that it's building. The frustration is building. Just things have to change, man.
Elaborate on that. You talk to the players post game. You talk to the players after practice. You talk to Dennis Allen. What's the energy like within the players? I'm not talking about the fan base. I'm talking about the team.
They're sick of it. They kind of feel the same way the fans do. They're sick of it. They're sick of the losing. They're tired of saying and not doing. I mean, that's the problem, though, Hunt. Actions speak louder than words. At some point, you have to start doing that and stop saying. I've told you this for 3 years now. It's too much saying and not enough doing. And I think that they're stuck in this rut. They just don't know how to get out of it. They just can't get out of their own way. I mean, they just cannot get out of the losing ways. And this is bad, man. I mean, look, this is about as bad as it was whenever I was covering the games at WAFB as a photographer in Tiger Stadium in 2005. This is, man, look, This is some bad football, man. It is top to bottom bad. I mean, I understand the injuries, but like they even know that. The players know that the injuries are no longer the excuses. They've got to kick the injury excuse to the curb, man. It's just not working out, and they are just frustrated.
You're from that city. Have you seen the fan base feel like this before?
Yeah, I'm telling you. You know, social media didn't really exist in '05 like it does now. I mean, it's Twitter's burning, man. I mean, social media is burning. I mean, fans are upset because they were told that it was going to be better. Things would be improved with Kubiak. Things would improve, defensively. But it's just no. Fans are upset, man. It's hard for me to tell you how mad they were compared to '05 because really, what are we judging it off of? Just face-to-face interaction. Now we have the social media. Now you can see it everywhere. I mean,
well, also in 2005, no one in black and gold had ever seen anything good. So this is you now know what's possible, and it makes things worse, in my estimation.
Yeah, it's way worse, in my opinion. I just think because of what you built after 2005, and then now you go from 05 to 20, 06 to 20, and then now you're dropping backwards to what you were under Mike Ditka and then Jim Haslett for that Hurricane Katrina season. I almost have to throw that season away. I mean, it was a different circumstance, man. You have a natural disaster like that, but then you want to go back to 1999. It's funny that you say that. We're talking about 99. I was just looking at the Hail Mary from the Cleveland Browns game, which is 25-year anniversary, Halloween Day. It's literally gotten that bad. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen against what bad team. I'm looking at that game and thinking, wow, maybe the Panthers might beat them again, beat them Sunday. Another bad team like the Cleveland Browns or with Tim Couch in 1999. I just don't know. I mean, things have gotten that bad, huh? Now, can they win a few games when Derek comes back? Yeah, of course. But where are they going? They are going nowhere.
I don't think they're going anywhere either. You think they win on Sunday?
They better hope they win on Sunday. I mean, it could get pitchforks will be out even more. I don't know if they'll do anything about it. I think it gets ugly and they lose 3 straight. And Jameis is the team that's gets you to 7, 8, 9 losses in a row. And Jameis is the guy who beat you that 9th time before the bye week. Then I could see the changes happening. But does it really matter? I mean, James Hurst said the same thing I said. Why does it matter if you fire Dennis today or fire him next week? The season's already pretty much cooked. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, you're not accomplishing anything. Roster isn't changing. GM isn't changing. Your assistant GM isn't changing. Nothing is changing if you fired a head coach. It's the same roster.
It's a daunting spot. It feels, like I said on Monday, years away from where they could dig this thing out. But we'll see. Sharie Aack covering it all down there in New Orleans. Sorry it was such a crappy conversation. Maybe we'll do better next week.
Honestly, even if they beat the Panthers, doesn't even really matter once again.
Have a great weekend, Sharie.
All right, man. Hopefully we beat Alabama in 2 weeks.
We'll talk about it next week. That's Sharie Aack, WDSU down in New Orleans. I can't say it any better than that. It's it doesn't feel like you just gotta fix your offensive line. It doesn't feel like, well, they gotta get better at corner. It doesn't feel like, man, if they could just fix the red zone issues or stop turning the ball over. It just feels like the whole operation is in big trouble. That's what it feels like. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot of hope that this can be turned around in any sort of short order based on the contracts on the books, the players on the roster, and the people in charge. It just doesn't. And Sharie talked about it there. Matt went on a long rant about it yesterday. I was a little more mild-mannered in my approach yesterday, but I don't have as much passion for the black and gold as Matt does. It's just, things are tough right now in Saints land. So thanks for Sharie for giving us a little bit of time. Tuesday show is brought to you by Pluckers. We'll come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports. EvolvePT.com. They're on Starring near Highland Road. Robbie Bolton and his team, 20 years of experience in physical therapy. If you're in pain and you want to get back to being your active self, whether that's running, whether that's playing youth sports, whether that's playing golf, whether that's playing pickleball, whether that's working out, and you just can't because you got an injury, no matter how that injury was sustained. Car accident, sports injury, hurt it sleeping, picking up a kid, whatever the case may be, they'll help you out. And it's going to be hands-on, from start to finish. You don't walk in there, they sit you in the corner and say, here's your exercises. We'll talk in 20 minutes. Hopefully things are feeling better. They're going to be with you. Soft tissue manipulation, cupping, dry needling, scraping, all that is done on site, hands-on at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. Check them out online, evolvept.com. As I mentioned, they're on Starring near Highland Road. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Congratulations to Tyler Hunt from Baton Rouge. Tyler is the Week 9 winner in our 2024 College Football Pick'em Contest and wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for round 10 by this Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
Hope to see some folks out at the PMAC tonight. LSU exhibition basketball versus Loyola of New Orleans, an NAIA school. It's an exhibition game, doesn't count, but tonight at 7 o'clock. And there's going to be a lot of really cool things to do. They're calling it Boo Up Night. They've got free candy for kiddos. They've got a pumpkin decorating contest, a costume contest, and some pregame activities in front of the Maravich Center right there between the ramps. It's complimentary. It's free. It's free to get in. No matter who you are, no charge for admission at all. And they also have their Beat the Buzzer promotion that they're going to do every Tuesday this year for Tuesday games. So doors open an hour before tip, so that's 6 o'clock. So from 6 to 6:50, almost an hour before the tip-off, you've got Tiger dogs for $2.50, nachos $2.75, burgers for $4, an 85-ounce bag of popcorn for $2.50, souvenir soda 32-ounce for $3.50. They've also got happy hour pricing on select beers for $5.25. So good pricing on concessions. A lot of things for the kiddos to do. They can come in costume as well for the game tonight. Exhibition against Loyola New Orleans. It's at 7 o'clock at the Maravich Center. I've got a preview piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now, and we'll be writing about it after the game this evening. So we'll see if we can see out there at the PMAC tonight. The Tigers will start their season coming up next week. They always start the week of Alabama, and their season opener will be on Wednesday against Louisiana Monroe. That'll also be a 7 o'clock tip-off. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It. Back.
Alrighty, first one here. As they said at the top of Sports Center, Anthony Richardson has been benched by the Colts in favor of Joe Flacco, who just seems to be at different teams the last few years and play really well. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. You know why? Not because he benched himself, because he was tired, which was not a great look and not a great quote after the game. But that's not why he should be benched. Did you see his stat line this week?
Yeah, it was bad.
10 of 32 with a touchdown, a pick, and he was sacked 5 times.
And the touchdown was wide open. The guy was completely wide open. There's no one close to him.
10 of 32, touchdown, a pick, and 5 sacks. I'm shocked that a guy who wasn't good at college isn't good in the NFL. What a shocker.
Yeah, but Honey can throw it 70 yards.
Yeah, and he can run real fast. Not good.
Next one here, Clemson's baseball team will be playing the Savannah Bananas in an exhibition game next week. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Can I be candid? Can I be frank here?
Yes.
I've never seen the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah?
And I don't even know what trick shot entertainment baseball looks like. I'm assuming these guys are decent, but I don't know how you would make baseball tricky.
Well, you should go watch a video of them.
I need to.
They do a lot of pretty funny stuff, but it's
do they
entertaining.
Hit home runs?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But it is legitimately just the Globetrotters on a baseball field.
I get half court shots and dribbling between your legs. Do they throw behind the back pitches?
Yeah, they do all kinds of crazy stuff like pitching and
stuff?
they do dances and stuff and yeah, it's a good time. I'm not sure what they're gonna do
against Clemson?
playing a college team because they usually play the Generals or whoever like the Globetrotters did. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but we'll see next week. All right, last one here. When asked about rules he'd like to see changed, Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla said, quote, "The biggest thing that we rob people of from an entertainment standpoint is you can't fight anymore. I wish you could bring back fighting. I just don't get why some sports are allowed to clear the benches." Take it or leave it.
Leave it. That's stupid. That's a stupid thing to say. We don't need teams fighting in order to have a quality product.
No, I don't think so.
I think we can leave that alone.
I will say, I'm not going to defend anything he said there, but I will say, though, that obviously the level of, physicality in the NBA, yes. Obviously the level of physicality has certainly been toned down in terms of what's allowed or not.
The animus between teams and players has gone away
because
they're
all friends.
Well, yeah, and they all play for every team.
Yeah.
And so, how are you going to develop a rivalry of 5 years when nobody sticks around, and then you got guys that play for both teams and they're switching every year, and I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me. I don't need fights. I don't need teams to despise each other. I think it helps sometimes, but that day is over because we allow players in pro sports and college sports to just play for whoever they want.
Yeah.
NBA players I need to trade me now. NFL players I'm not going to play, just trade me. And then college, you just go in the portal and you just leave. And so, you don't have that commitment to your organization or your university like you once did. And I can hear the argument that's a really bad thing, but it's certainly going to hurt teams fighting each other.
Yeah, probably not going to be a lot of rivalries.
Hester talks about those Florida games. They played the same guys every year. You don't do that anymore. Everybody's gone.
For the most part,
because the guys that are starting probably came from somewhere else, and they go to the NFL, and the guy, it's just... You just leave and go. You played for 3 colleges.
I will push back a little bit, though. I do still think, though, that even with the players kind of not playing as long as they would, as long as they used to on the same team, I do still think that the spirit of rivalries is still there for certain games. Obviously not as much. Yeah, the fan bases, yes, but the last week LSU Texas A&M game, the guys they had players fighting pregame. So
They did.
there's still going to be animosity between teams. I think obviously it'll be a little bit tempered as well, but I'm not going to say that rivalries are just going to be dead now. But they certainly won't have the same effect they probably used to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need my players to fight to feel like we're rivals. I'm okay with
know. Yeah.
If Joe Burrow and Jamar Jackson want to dap it up after the game and trade jerseys, I'm still not going to like the other team. Like that's for the fan base. The players it just doesn't exist like that. That's it for Take It or Leave It. Fun show today. A little bit of a bye week episode, I would say. Only spent really the first 15 minutes really diving into LSU football today. We'll do a little bit more as the week goes on. Brian Kelly meets with the media later today at 5 o'clock. He's also on the teleconference tomorrow. So on tomorrow's show, we'll definitely have some sound for you from Brian Kelly. But I opened the show talking about LSU dealing with running quarterbacks. You know what's left on the schedule. You know what happened on Saturday night. If you want to watch that, you can on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. You can certainly go back and catch it on demand as well. Matt McMahon, LSU head basketball coach, was with me at 1:15. Previewing tonight's exhibition game against Loyola New Orleans. Glen West, go 24/7 at 1:30. In top of the hour, number 2, we talked about the college football playoff picture and kind of where LSU sits. And the interesting deal where the SEC, Big Bad Southeastern Conference, is the one that's got saddled with bad losses. Everybody else is kind of floating above that to this point as we get to November. What does that mean for LSU? I talked about it at the top of hour number 2. And Sharie Aack did not paint the rosiest picture of the New Orleans Saints at 2:30. If you want to listen to that or watch it, you can on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. That's where our Saints content feeds to every single day. That's going to do it for us. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. I'll be at Pluckers tonight. Hope you will as well. 8:30 Nicholson location. That's going to drive you home next one. After further view, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. You know that feeling of unease you get when that hurricane starts brewing in the Gulf, and there's just uncertainty around the next week of your life. Is the hurricane going to hit? Am I going to have power? Do I need to evacuate? What's my work schedule like? Do the kids have school? All that kind of stuff. Well, you can't eliminate all that at this part of the world, but you can eliminate the wonder if you're going to have power or not, because you can eliminate the issue with insurance as well. Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. Know that you've got the insurance, not when after the hurricane blows through, but beforehand. Know that you've got the proper coverage. Know that you've got the people behind you that are going to help you in the event that there is a catastrophe. The Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carver and his team can do that. They can deal with your group or employee benefits, and they can also help you with your property and casualty. Start that consultation, HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group right here in Baton Rouge. Find them online at HighlandIG.com.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Burtman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports